Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a really exciting and really powerful commander for you. Yeah, this one is definitely an Omega level commander that is just a very dominant and scary commander if you're the one utilizing it. Absolutely incredible. If you're the one going against it, be terrified. Of Baylen the Haymaker. Yeah, that is a very apt name. Yeah, being able to throw some haymakers with this is quite easy because it's a 4/3 rabbit warrior. And if that was it, that would not be a great commander. Regardless, it's in Naya, and it says a lot of things. Here we go. Tap 2 untapped tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color. Tap 3 untapped tokens you control, draw a card. Tap 4 untapped tokens you control, put 3 counters on it. It gains trample until end of turn. My goodness, this is insane. Hey, you know what? Your tokens can help you with mana, which is great. Can also help you with card draw, which is amazing. And also, sure, if you want to smack your opponents in the face with a Rabbit Warrior, you definitely can do that as well. The amount of value you can get out of this is crazy. When it comes to commanders that generate value, yeah, usually they do like one thing or another. This does like all the things. Being able to say, you know what? Your tokens, no matter what they are, again, it doesn't specify like creature or non-creature tokens. Any tokens you have can now be basically like mini mana rocks in a way, or mini sources of card draw too. You can generate so much value so quickly with this, your opponent's heads will spin, and then their heads will fly when you are swinging at them, and they are gone. Absolutely an incredible commander, and you don't have to break the bank to actually make a very, very, very impressive deck with this one that can just dominate a table. According to Moxfield, $20.10 for this deck, including the commander. That doesn't include shipping or basic lands, but still, you might already have those basics. Regardless, if you are interested in this deck, check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into it. And first up in tactic number 1, just to illustrate kind of the absurdity of this commander, let's talk about the golden pig of this deck, the number 1 card over 99, which is Peregrine Took. If one or more tokens to be created under your control, those tokens plus additional food token are created instead. You can also sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card if you need to. Most importantly, though, again, basically, hey, every single time you make a token, which, believe me, we've got an absurd amount of ways to do, you get an extra one for free, which is crazy. That is crazy value because, again, your commander does not care what kind of tokens you are making. It could not care less. So all of a sudden, you are making one additional token that, again, can basically be half a mana rock or like 1/3 of card draw every single trip around the table, which is crazy. So again, if you're just making like, say, a 1/1 soldier, oh, that soldier comes with a little food friend, which is great. So now they both can just tap for mana together. Absolutely incredible. Peregrine Took can give you so much value throughout the game. Definitely, in my opinion, worthy of the title of Golden Pig. Next up, tactic number 2, assembly line. Now let's talk about ways to just generate an absurd amount of tokens throughout the game. Just get things out there and let them just work. Let them just do their job and work incredibly good with something like Peregrine Took. First up, we got Baird, a 2/2 human soldier for 2 mana, just 2 mana in Boros. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power greater than its base power, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Basically, we'll have to just activate our commander's 3rd ability once, just once, to get some counters on it, and all of a sudden, we meet that requirement, and now every single one of our end steps, we get a 1/1 soldier. That can build up a lot throughout the game. Moving on, Goblin Kaboomus. This one's hilarious. Beginning of your upkeep, create a colorless artifact token named Landmine. That is not a 1/1, it's just a landmine. On the battlefield with pay a red, sacrifice artifact, 2 damage to target attacking creature without flying, then flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 2 damage to itself. So, this can take itself out. That being said, you don't have to activate those landmines until you really want to. You can just keep this in play, keep generating tokens for you that you can actually just utilize again for tapping. And sure, if a creature comes around that's like, I'm going to swing at you, you're like, okay, I'll sacrifice some landmines and I hope my Kabooma stays in play. But if not, that's okay too. Next up, Haywire Militia Captain. At the beginning of your upkeep, control 4 more creatures, transform it. We're going to get to that really, really quickly. All of a sudden on the backside, though, power and toughness each equal number of creatures you control. That is huge. That's a giant amount of power. Again, we're going to be going so wide. Our opponents will not know what to do themselves. And then we have these giant creatures, too. At the beginning of your end step, you also get a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token on the battlefield, which is quite nice. Moving on, Loyal Apprentice. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you get a 1/1 Thopter with flying. and also gains haste until end of turn, which is quite nice. You don't have to swing with it. Again, being able to keep tokens back can be great for this deck because you just want to utilize them for mana and, card draw. Great. You don't have to swing with them until you're completely ready to do so. Speaking of not swinging with things, Doomed Artisan. This one's really cool in the way it works. Sculptures you control can't attack or block. At the beginning of your end step, create a colorless sculpture artifact creature token with this creature's power types for each of the number of sculptures you control. Basically, build up a sculpture army that just grows throughout the game with how big they are. They can't attack or block until this is actually gone. When this goes away, then you can. That being said, you don't even care sometimes about being able to attack or block with them because you're just like, I'm just utilizing them basically as, again, mini mana rocks or card draw as well. Next up, Wojek Investigator. Flying, Vigilance 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent has more cards in hand than you. So this can actually be basically 3 tokens on your upkeep. If your opponents have more cards in hand than you, great, you get 3. You might get 2. You might get 1. You might not get any. That's okay, though. Being able to just build up these clues throughout the game can also be a great way to build up some card draw when you need it, or, yeah, just build up basically, again, free card draw from your, tapping of the clues or, mana from them as well. Outlaw's Merriment, another great one as well. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose one at random. You basically get a creature that is either a 3/1 trample and haste, a 2/1 lifelink and haste, or a 1/2 ETB, 1 damage to any target. Then there's Symbol Legion. My goodness, this can get out of control. At your upkeep, you get a muster counter on it. Then you create a 1/1 for each muster counter on it. So this builds, first time you're getting 1, second time you're getting 2, 3, 4, 5. Builds throughout the game. Again, the amount of value you can get from those is crazy. The longer the game goes, the more in trouble your opponents are. Speaking of which, Consuming Blob. Power types equal the number of cards among card types among cards in your graveyard. Toughness equal that number +1. So this can become quite large throughout the game. That being so, what really matters is at the beginning of your end step, create a green ooze creature token with this power. Same thing, basically. So essentially, you're just getting an extra ooze that is kind of like a copy of it every single turn. And every single turn, you are getting an extra one of these that can become quite massive. Next up, speaking of massive, Paradox Zone. Enters the battlefield with 1 growth counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, you double that up. Then you make a fractal that has that many counters on it, essentially. So, yeah, the first time you're making a 2/2, then a 4/4, then an 8/8, then a 16/16. You see where this is going. Massive threats that also can just be mana rocks for you or card draw when you need them. Moving on, Preston Garvey Minuteman. Main of combat on your turn, you get a green aura enchantment creature token named Settlement attached to one of your lands. Makes one of your lands be able to tap for 1 mana of any color, which is lovely. Great mana fixing there. On top of that, whenever this attacks, untap each enchanted permanent you control. Those enchantments tokens, they don't have to be, untapped for us to get the value out of them from this, obviously. So we can just awkwardly tap our enchantment tokens attached to our lands to generate mana as well from our commander or card draw, or again, getting counters on them. Moving on, Sandworm Convergence. This one makes monsters. Creatures with flying can't attack your planeswalkers you control, so that's a nice deterring factor to be like, you're not coming at me through the air at all. Good luck getting through my massive army. And speaking of my massive army, give your end step, you make a 5/5 worm. Lovely. So much value to be had throughout the game with this. And finally, speaking of value, Verdant Force. At the beginning of each upkeep, not just your own, each upkeep, get a 1/1 sapling. So that means each trip around the table that is 4 saplings, which equals basically 2 mana rocks, or like a little over 1 card drawn every single turn that you are building up those number of tokens. That is absurd. Moving on to tactic number 3, Spawn. Now, with our other tactic that we just talked about, Assembly Line, we're talking about ones that are like, okay, this is going to happen every single turn. These other ones are a bit more determined by another factor, essentially. Draw Element and Volley Recluse. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 2/2 cat. Lovely. Being able to just, again, draw a lot of cards is very easy once we get things going. Again, our tokens can help us tap to draw cards too, so we can basically tap our tokens to draw cards to make more tokens. On top of that, by paying 6 mana essentially until end of turn, our creatures have base power toughness XX number of cards in our hand. That can be massive. Again, this can be basically a card draw engine for us by, helping us generate tokens throughout the game. And then also a way to build up those cards in our hand and say, you know what, now our creatures are massive thanks to that. Moving on. Harass the Endless Web. Whenever opponent casts an instant sorcery spell, make a 1/2 green spell creature with reach. Thank you, opponents, for helping us out. That's absolutely lovely of you. Next up, Bio-Waste Blob. Our opponents need to stop this before it gets out of hand, because if it gets out of hand, they're going to be in trouble with some exponential growth. Beginning of your combat, if you control a commander, create a token's copy of Bio-Waste Blob. Also, oozes you control a +1/+1. So basically, this pumps not only itself, but all our oozes, and it makes more oozes. More copies of itself, which makes more copies of themselves. So again, exponential growth, essentially just getting an absurd amount of them. And those tokens, of course, we can use for value as well. Speaking of which, Zirium the Golden Wind. Flying, whenever a griffin you control deals counter to your player, make a 2/2 white griffin creature shown with flying. Yeah, we're not running like Griffin Tribalness, and that's completely fine. This hits, we make a Griffin. This, and then that Griffin hits. Next turn, we make 2 more. You see where this is going. Again, exponential growth, getting so many of those throughout the game. We can just build up a giant army. Speaking of which, make a giant army with 1 hit. Rith the Awakener. 6/6 flyer. Whenever it deals counter to a player, you may pay 3. If you do choose a color, then create a 1/1 green sapling creature token for each permanent of that color. That counts everything on the board, and it doesn't say non-token. So, yeah, pick whatever the most is. You're going to get a ton of things into play. The next time, it's probably going to be green because those saplings are green. So, yeah, have fun just doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up the number of things that you have in play. Silvering Squadron, another great one as well. Flying Vigilance, power touch equal number of creatures you control. Again, this can just be deadly on its own. On top of that, though, when it attacks, you're basically going to make 3 2/2 knights. Lovely with Vigilance, too. Equal number of opponents we have. Giant Adaphage, another one that can just spawn and essentially just go wide on its own. 7/7 trample, deal combat damage to a player, create a token's copy of it. So, again, hit a player, make a copy. Hit 2 more players, make 2 more copies. This can get out of control in no time. 3-fold Thunderhulk, enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it, enters the battlefield or attacks, get a number of 1/1 gnomes equal to its power. Can also increase its power by sacrificing artifacts to get counters on it, or other ways that we've talked about too. But yeah, if you want to just keep swinging, making more tokens, absolutely lovely for us. Next up, tactic number 4, land a hand, and land a hand we shall with Tireless Tracker. Yeah, we've got ways to take advantage of our lands coming into play. We're in green. We've got ways to ramp, right, essentially. So we are going to be able to get lands into play, and all of a sudden, we can make clues with this. Lands come into play under control, investigate. Also, we sacrifice clues, get counters on this. Lovely. Togo, Goblin, Weaponsmith, land enters battlefield under control. You make a rock. Cool. You can sacrifice that rock if you really want to or whatever, you know, yeah, to get onto things, great. But what we care about really is just we made a token. By just a land coming into play, it's all we care about. Doesn't really matter what it does for the most part. Merry Angel, landfall, land comes in play under control. 1/1 bird with flying. So yeah, it can be a great finisher for us as well. Creature Maria, lands come into play under control. Make 1/1 soldiers, 1 more core allies, I should say. Or we can pump our team ++1 until end turn. So yeah, once we've gone wide enough, we're like, you know what? We've got enough tokens in play. Let's pump them again and again and again and swing through and take our opponents out. Speaking of which, Maya, Bredegar Protector, a nice little anthem for our team. Other creatures ++1. On top of that, land comes into play. 1/1 white human warrior creature token. Nesting Dragon. Lands come into play our control. We make dragon eggs. When those dragon eggs die, we make dragons essentially with them. 2/2 flyers that have fire breathing. Spore Mound. Lands come into play very simply. Make saplings that are 1/1s. And Rampaging Balos. Make absurd creatures. Every single time a land comes into play our control, a 4/4 green beast creature token. Yeah, this can take our opponents out in absolutely no time. Or again, throughout the game, just generate so much value for us thanks to our commander. Moving on, tactic number 5, massive amounts. Yeah, we've got some cards that, you know, build over time like we've just talked about, or we can just make a massive amount of tokens all at once. And yeah, making more tokens begets making more tokens with things like Secure the Waste, create X 1/1 white or creature tokens at instant speed. Yeah, this is pretty absurd. Again, you just save up all that value to have all that mana you have from all those tokens you already have in play, and your, you know, mana as well, your lands. And all of a sudden you tap all that and you're like, oh, okay, instant speed cast this, and I have an absurd amount of tokens for next turn. Song of Totem-Taz, sorcery speed though, but you get X 1/1 rats. That can't block, that's okay. But they also gain haste till end of turn. Horn of Valhalla. Make X soldiers with the adventure side of this, and also equip creature gets +1 for each creature you control. Yeah, this turns our commander, or maybe even anything, into a one-shot KO very, very easily. March the Multitudes, instant speed. You can also convoke this, so keep that in mind. That's even more efficient for tapping our creature token, essentially, for mana with this. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. Yeah, lovely. Increase in devotion. Make 5 or make 10 if you cast this out of your graveyard. Crash the party. This is hilarious. Instant speed for 6 mana, creating tap 4/4 green Rhino Warrior creature token for each tap creature control. Instant speed for 6 mana, absolutely absurd again, especially since you can tap all your creature tokens essentially again for mana or for card draw, whatever you need to tap them for. Make sure they're tapped, cast this, and all of a sudden just basically double your army size. Next up, speaking of that, Nomad's Assembly. Put a 1/1 white core soldier into the battlefield for each creature you control, and also rebound. So basically, you cast this, you double up your army. The next turn, you double that again. You're basically quadrupling your army for 6 mana. Absolutely amazing. Deploy the front, can be even bigger though. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens or X number of creatures on the battlefield. Your opponents can help you out as well. Thank you, opponents. I appreciate that. You are helping me so much. And now here's all my extra value to be had. Again, with these kinds of spells, you can actually like get your mana back and then some right away, because you can tap those tokens right away for mana thanks to your commander, since your commander has the ability. Even more absurd though, potentially. Storm Herd. Create X 1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens are flying with X as your life total. Yeah, just think about getting 40 tokens right away for 10 mana. Yeah, you can just get that mana back then and then some, or just draw a ton of cards, or decimate your opponents on the next turn with a bunch of flyers. Next up, tactic number 6, Value Town. Yeah, we've got a lot of high value cards that can help us out in some scenarios, especially this MDFC with Legion Leadership. Instant for 2 mana in Boros until end of turn, double target creature's power and gains first strike. If our commander gets through, our opponents are going to be in big trouble because all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I thought I blocked properly. And again, we can give it trample too. So we can actually say, you know what? Let's double up that power and you are gone. Audience of Trostani, another great MDFC for us. Make a 0/1 green plant creature token, then draw cards equal the number of differently named creature tokens you control. Not an MDFC. We got another one coming up here in a second. I got confused on that one. That's okay. What we're going to be doing with this one is we're going to be making a creature token. Just a little plant. That's fine for us. But again, we've got a lot of different ways to make a lot of different kinds of creature tokens. Draw an absurd amount of cards with this. Kadir call this small. Our opponents better hope this never hits. If it hits, they're in so much trouble. A 3/3 trampler that says when it deals combat damage to a player, for each creature token you control, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. Yeah, that is absurd. Every single one of our tokens basically doubles up and we get a rabbit as well. Absolutely amazing. And we've got some pump effects that we can utilize to try to get damage through. Next up, Embercle's Evangel. A really cool play can be had with this. Tap, sacrifice it and any number of other non-Eldrazi creatures, which is basically all of our creatures, right? Put a 3/2 Eldrazi horror onto the battlefield for each creature. Sacrifice this way. Yeah, basically take all your creature tokens, replace them with most likely slightly larger creature tokens, which is lovely. And then also those tokens are going to play untapped. So like we can just tap all those tokens that we already have for value, for mana, for card draw, and reset them essentially so we can do it again. Next up, Queen Alal of Rudok. A star power touch each one of the creatures you control. So again, another one of those heavy hitters that just grows throughout the game whenever we are growing wide. If one or more creature tokens be created under your control, those tokens plus a 1/1 white soldier creature token are created instead. Yeah, kind of like Peregrine Took, but specifically for creature tokens. Getting extra ones every time can be absolutely huge. Strength of Harvest. There's the MDFC I was thinking earlier. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1 for each creature and or enchantment you control. Yeah, turn any creature into an absolute beast or just utilize the land side if you need that. Ovalwine Mysteries. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. So again, non-token creatures dying now give us extra tokens to work with. On top of that, if we sacrifice a clue, to draw some cards, we get a 1/1 soldier that we can replace that token with too. Speaking of, investigating, search premises. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker control, investigate. That's for every single creature attacking us. Again, that is one token, one half of a mana rock, essentially 1/3 of, tap draw a card, essentially. Absolutely absurd. Visions of Phyrex, another great card for us as well. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile top card of your library and play the card this turn. Nice additional potential, card advantage for us. But at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play a card from exile this turn, make a tap Power Stone token. So again, that Power Stone token can help us out in many ways throughout the game. Moving on to tactic number 7, stay. Yeah, we're going to have our creatures stick around with something like Rootborn Defenses. We're going to be going so wide, protect it. Make sure our creatures stay in play. Populate, so actually make another creature, which is lovely. Creature control gain indestructible until end of turn. Also granting indestructibility, unbreakable formation for 3 mana as well. On top of that, if we cast it during our main phase, get a counter each of those creatures again, vigilance on turn. A great way to say, you know what, if I need to protect my team, a great way to do so. Or on my turn, yeah, let's protect my team in combat and also pump them and let them stay back for blocks too. Finally, your temple is under attack. Creature control gain indestructible if you want that for 3 mana, lovely. If not, make a deal with an opponent. Make a friend. Draw 2, they draw 2. So yeah, make a deal. But yeah, most of the time, it's more so just like, let's protect our entire team from whatever board wipe is going on. Speaking of board wipes, we've got some to talk about in this tactic. Number 8, leave. Yeah, the opposite of stay. Artifact mutation. Even our removal can help us build our army. Destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Make X saplings or exits. Mana value. Or mutation, basically exact same thing, but for enchantments. So yeah, make a lot of saplings for not a lot of mana. Next up, Stomp. Another MDFC that can help us out. Target creature control deals damage equal to its power target creature you or planeswalker you don't control. Again, we can manage our commander's power very, very easily just by tapping some tokens. We can get extra counters on it. We can turn our commander into just, hey, take out whatever creature we want with this. Sundering Growth, another great populate effect. Get an extra creature token. On top of that, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Bridgeworks Battle. Again, our commander can help us out. Target creature control with +2/+2 until end of turn. Fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Or again, the backside is just a land if we need it. Speed of Witch, Colony, Ambush. Target creature control fights our creature you don't control. Another great way to utilize that MDFC. Space Marine Devastator. Squad 2. So we can actually make copies of this, kind of like a kicker, copy thing. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target up to one target artifact or enchantment. Be able to destroy a lot of things with this. Again, we can pump a lot of mana into this to wipe out a lot of things, on top of making a lot of tokens for us. Then there's Austere Command, very flexible ward wipe, destroy artifacts, enchantments, big things, small things, whatever you need to take out, take them out. Speaking of taking things out, take out basically everything but your army. Convoke, so our creatures can help cast this spell as well, destroy all non-token creatures. So this is a great way to finish off opponents. Yeah, we might lose our commander, that's okay, but essentially our entire army is intact, and yours are not. We are swinging through at you. But now let's move on to our final tactic, ramp it up, because yeah, we want to get things going before we get our commander out into play, and then, you know, all the tokens, all the craziness, all the mana that comes from that. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble, of course, pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get a base land and play tap. Next up, Font of Fertility, basically enchantment version of Wayfarer's Bauble. Moving on, we've got Rampant Growth, 2 mana, get a base, gonna play, untap the OG ramp spell. Edge Draw, basically exact same thing if we've got 4 fewer lands. If not, that's okay, cycle it away by sacrificing a land. Fertile Ground, another 2 mana ramp spell, it's great, put it onto a land, it taps for additional mana. Cultivate, we've got 2 basics we're going to be going and getting. 1 goes into play tap, 1 goes in our hand to set up a land drop. Harrow, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics into play untapped. And finally, Roiling Regrowth, basically the exact same thing, except those basics come to play tap, which is okay. But now as this episode is coming to a close, comment below with your thoughts on this one. Also, yeah, pick up this deck if you are interested in it. The deck list link is in the description below. Also, make sure you check out my Kickstarter in the description below as well. I'm really excited about it. It is a brand new game, and I could not be happier with it. So yeah, make sure you check that out. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.